Everybody repeat after me. Fearless, free, and fully conscious. See, that's the whole theme and the center and the foundation of that lesson within that song. It's also the lesson this morning. The idea that we're working with this morning is that music can arrive anywhere you want. The music of the spheres. How to facilitate our spiritual reliance. I shared a couple of weeks ago the idea that if you want to be one with God, all you have to do is understand principle and trust it. And that's what we're talking about this morning, is what we need to do about that. If we're going to facilitate our spiritual alliance, we need to do more than just know that we're one with everything. We're one with the universe. We are one with it. It's not that we are here and it's there and we're one with it. It's we are one with it as it in action. The life of God is ready, willing, and able to unfold any way we let it unfold. Michelangelo said that the greatest danger for most of us is not that we aim too high and miss it, but we aim too low and reach it. Think about that. How many know that if you really went home and just contemplated what I just said, it would be worth your time this morning? So by asking this morning in relationship to you and me and anyone and everyone who can hear my voice, whether it's here this morning or on YouTube, welcome YouTube, is the realization that we can at any time raise our consciousness. Remember, as we shared and we share all the time, anyone can be a Buddha because anyone can wake up. Everyone can be a Buddha because everyone can wake up. Everyone can be the Christ consciousness in action. The idea of, as a wonderful rabbi friend of mine pointed out, is in his study of religious science. He said, you know, in Judaism we say Shabbat Shalom on Fridays, and said that's a greeting. He said, but if you understand what religious science teaches, every day is Shabbat Shalom. Every day is the realization that this is the day the Lord has made, and I'm glad and rejoice in it. What happens to us? What happens to us many times is we find ourselves filling our head with a whole lot of positive, wonderful concepts, but we allow ourselves to do what? We allow ourselves to rest in just knowing about it and not knowing as it knows. We think knowing about it is going to change our life. We think knowing about something or following a discipline or using a certain kind of mantra or whatever is going to change our life. It is when we do what? It is when we take the great information of the age and we apply it to us. Jesus said 2,000 years ago, don't you know your God? Our Father, which art where? In heaven? And he told us heaven is where? Point to it. Okay. Not somewhere off in the sky by and by when you die. It's here and now. It's always been here and now, and the here and now is really what we are dealing with. You see, as Dr. Holmes pointed out, this is the Zen of Western thinking, because the Zen of Western thinking says, okay, yesterday's over. I can't do anything about that, but I can do something about the lessons I've learned from it, and I can apply it in the now. How many have goals in life? Any of you? Okay. My book is centered on the concept of not just setting goals, but understanding that if you do this, if you allow yourself to ask yourself the question, you've heard me say this over and over again, if you say, what is my purpose for achieving my goal, and become one with the purpose, the goal happens automatically. Go ahead and be the purpose. My goal is to have this. Why? So I can be happier. Why? So I can be healthier. Why? Well, why not go ahead and do that now before it shows up? Why not be the consciousness of what you want so that what you want happens, not waiting for what you want so that you can be the consciousness? On page 139 of Power of Positive Purpose, Dr. I'm saying this, what is spiritual? Ernest Holmes once stated, there is nothing more spiritual than a ham sandwich. Turn and say that to the person next to you. Nothing more spiritual than a ham sandwich. Dr. Craig Carter thought that was the most powerful statement Ernest Holmes ever made. Do you know that? Think about it. There's nothing more spiritual than a ham sandwich. What was he saying? He was saying everything is God. Everything is God. We're moving from God, through God, to God. There's no place you can go where it is not. But you can do what? You can allow yourself to do something very interesting. You know, there's the story of the teacher, the garbage man, and the lawyer. I hope they're not any lawyers here this morning. You know, they're trying to get through the pearly gate. St. Peter had a bad time that day, so the teacher goes through and he said, well, I'm going to ask you some questions before you get it. He said, okay, what are they? He said, well, what was the ship that hit the iceberg and sank, the big one? He said, Titanic. Come on in. Okay. Garbage man comes up. St. Peter says, how many were on that ship? He says, 1,228. He said, hey, it's great. Come on in. The lawyer comes up and he said, what was their names? Three ways to approach one thing. That's all right. You'll get it later this afternoon. You go, oh, that was really funny. Okay, now. 139 of my book, The Power of Positive Purpose, freeing ourselves to think as presence thinks, see as it sees, act as it acts, love as it loves, is the revelation of the revelation of the revelation. The spiritual life of all that exists celebrates itself as us. Say that with me. The spiritual life of all that exists is everything I am. You have the entire universe to back up your next idea. What are you going to use it for? You have the whole universe and all the power of the universe is ready to back up your next concept, your next acceptance. What are you accepting? We look at our history and we say, okay, there's circumstance. Okay, that's fine. Everyone say, I remember one of my students who came in here and took first year, second year, third year. Her whole life changed for the better. Everybody kept telling her how lucky she was, and she says, I make my own luck. Thank you very much. And that statement itself began to change the life of her friends because they saw an example of making your own luck, creating your own circumstance. This is allowing yourself to facilitate your spiritual reliance in the direction of what you want, not just trying to get out of what you don't want, but celebrating what you do want and conjure, what you do expect, what you do anticipate as far as your own self-enhancement. Because if you do what? If you do this, the whole world's going to be happy. The greatest gift you will give to everyone around you, if you want a gift given to those around you, is this. Learn how to love yourself more. Learn how to appreciate yourself more. Learn how to define yourself in a higher way, and then live forward from the definition. Everyone say, there's something in me that is greater than any circumstance I'm facing. Now this morning, let's pause for just a moment. Now I want you to do something. I want you to pause for just a moment, and I would like you to just contemplate a change for the better you'd like to see happen. That wasn't planned, but it was beautiful. Now, I'm going to see if you. I want you to focus on something and see if you will change your. What You just planned something, you just accepted something, you contemplated something. How would that change right now if you knew you could not fail? What would you be planning? Would it be different? If you knew it could not fail, if you knew your idea could not just stay idea but become form, become event. You see, when we think and move confidently in this thing called life, what happens to us? What are we doing? What we're doing is this. We are allowing our spiritual reliance to become our way. We're not just relying on an idea, we're being the idea. We're not just relying on a higher idea of self. We're told, look into the mountains. We find ourselves over and over again thinking and moving confidently in the direction of our dream, and we find ourselves automatically crossing former boundaries we wouldn't let ourselves cross before. We find ourselves being what we never let ourselves be before. We find ourselves thinking what we never let ourselves think before. We've thought about it, but we never let ourselves really think as it thinks. What areas do we need to do this in? You see, once we cross this line, this former boundary that we used to have, what happens is wonderful, beautiful things begin to happen. We begin to synchronize in a new way because we have a new consciousness. How many have already experienced what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying is true by way of experience? How many, raise your hand if it's happened? Okay, everyone say, if it happens before, it can happen some more. See, one of the things, Reverend Dar knows this, Reverend Mary Jo knows this, one of the things we have to watch out for in classes is a lot of times people will come to the class, and almost every class we get these students who hear it and do it. They don't question it, they don't fight it, they don't rigmarole it around with former religious concepts that it's interfering with. They just do it. And what happens to the ones who don't follow in that freedom